Hello, peace and blessings, my good people. Welcome back to another yoga practice. My name is Ben. Hope you're having an amazing day, and we'll go ahead and get started today in a tabletop position. As you get into your tabletop position, let's go ahead and try something. Braid the right leg over the left, kind of like Gomukhasana in the legs. And then go ahead and flip and try to get a really good flip of the left palm. And then begin drawing some circles with the hips. Could be clockwise, counterclockwise. Doesn't really matter. Just try to start stirring up the pot a little bit. In fact, try to circle in both directions a few times. Try to find a little bit of a fluency into the hips. And then once you've done that a few times, bring the left hand back to normal. And then let's try to stand up onto our shins into like a kneeling position. Bring the hands to the hips just to start. Try to stay facing forward. And then bring your arms to the sky. Interlace your fingers at the webbing. Bring the palms behind the head. Throw the elbows up and kind of lean the head back into the hands. Feel that the hips press forward a little bit so that you can rise up and over something. And then release the hands down. So bring fingertips back down to the ground and sit back into a Gomukhasana position. You might have to kind of wiggle your legs around a little bit, especially if you're a little bit tighter into the hips like me. All right, once you sit into the Gomukhasana, you can stay here, you can kind of rock side to side, you can roll the hips around in a circle, or if you feel like just getting right into some deeper space, go ahead and find a little bit of a fold. It doesn't have to be the biggest fold, right? By fold, I just really mean you can start to crawl your fingertips forward and you'll kind of know when you meet your natural point of resistance. You'll know if it feels good to bring the forearms down or if you're like, nah, today the hands can stay down. Often when I crawl the fingertips forward, I find more space to kind of plug my butt down into the ground behind me. Let time slow down for a little second. And then rise back up. Crawl out to tabletop. And then switch the legs. If you want to come into a quick down dog for like one quick breath, you can. Just to find symmetry. And then eventually let's all braid the legs in the opposite way. So bring the left leg in front. Try to keep your feet nice and wide. And then go ahead and flip the opposite palm. So I had my left palm flipped before. So this time the right hand goes backwards. And then begin drawing some circles with the hips. Again, doesn't really matter which direction you start with because we'll switch in a few moments. Try to find some fluency. Try to find where the current is able to flow. And hopefully the current is able to flow through the whole body, starting in the pelvis. And if you feel like the currency is stuck anywhere, that's totally okay. It's just good information to be aware of. And then once you've done that for a little bit, once you've gone both directions, bring the right hand back to normal, and then begin to rise up into a kneeling position. Stay facing forward. When you're ready, arms can come up to the sky, interlace fingers at the webbing. Try to get the opposite thumb on top. Gently lean head into palms like a ball that falls into a mitt if you play baseball or if you're familiar with baseball. I suppose baseball is kind of an American thing, but cricket could also apply, right? Softball. And And then slowly release this. Bring fingertips back down. And then sit back into Gomukhasana. Always feel free to sit onto a block or sit onto a blanket. Again, feel free to stir the pot a little bit, move your hips around. But for me, that can be kind of challenging. So I'm just going to go ahead and find a little bit more volume and depth by crawling the fingertips forward, connecting my belly toward my thigh. And the more I crawl forward, the more I'm trying to root back with my hips. And then once you find a spot that feels balanced, that feels nice and whole, then you can breathe there. From here, let's begin to come out of it, crawl forward, unwind the legs, downward facing dog. Lift the hips up to the sky. From your downward facing dog, root down through your left hand, left knuckles, left fingertips, and then reach the right hand up and place the right palm on the small of your back. Bend the knees so that you can keep lengthening the butt up toward the sky. And feel a push through the left armpit and through the left side body. Keep pressing down through your right foot. And then switch. Right hand down, left hand comes up. And notice the shift in weight. Notice the difference between your sides. Keep the knees bent. Keep the butt up to the sky. Keep the left foot pressing down into the ground. If you feel your hips kind of flopping over to the right, bring them back into the center. And then bring the left hand down to the ground. And bend into the knees. Lunge your right foot up to the top of the mat. Keep your knee lifted off the ground behind you. Crawl the fingertips forward. And then from here, go ahead and bring the right hand to the inside of the right foot. Heel in alignment with the base of the wrist. And then if you want, you can even flip the palm backwards so the heel of the palm stays in alignment with the heel of the foot. And then twist the twist the left hand up to the sky. You can place your left hand on your low back for a moment if you want, but eventually left hand twists all the way up to the sky. And then if you want, only if you want, wrap your left arm behind your low back and go for a bind. So this is like side angle pose, but your left heel is lifted off of the ground. So you're like crescent lunge in the legs, so left hip stays rolling forward. We're not opening the hips, but we're using that closing of the hips to provide context for the twist in the upper body. Release the bind if you have it. Bring the fingertips back down to the ground, and then step back into downward facing dog. From downward facing dog, bend the knees and then bounce the left foot all the way up to the top of the mat. Keep the knee lifted off the mat behind you. Crawl the fingertips forward a minute just so you can see how long and strong your lunge can be. And then set up for your twist. So left hand, again, it's like side angle, but we're not rolling the back heel down, right? We're staying squared, facing forward in the hips. If you want to, you can turn the left palm to face backwards. Think that your left knee and left arm are making contact with each other. And then rise up. Stay high onto the back toes. Keep rolling your right hip down. And then twist. If you want, you can even reach your right arm overhead. Option to wrap into a half bind. Option to wrap into a full bind. Try to keep balance here. And then release the twist. Bring your fingertips back down. Be gentle with yourself. And then find downward facing dog. From downward facing dog, take a deep bend into the knees to prepare, and then lunge the right foot up to the top of the mat. Crawl the fingertips forward. Once again, just find a long lunge. Right knee fits into the right armpit. And then let's twist in the opposite direction as last time. So left hand reaches across the body. Right hand spins up to the sky. So strong in the back leg. So legs are the same as the other side. We're just twisting in the opposite direction. So notice how interesting that feels. Maybe you have a preference of which twist felt easier, which twist felt better. And that's not good or bad, it just is. So just kind of be an observation of yourself. And then slowly release and step back to your dog. Other side, deep bend into the knees, lunge the left foot forward. Start by just crawling the fingertips out. See how long you can get while still pulling the hips back a little bit. And then twist to the other side. So try to keep that length. Set up for your twist. Right hand reaches across. Left hand to the sky. Left hip pulls up and back. Don't let your hips flop over to the left. So your hips should be in the middle of your mat. Your head should be in the middle of your mat. So I just kind of caught myself lacking. I was leaning all the way to the left with my head, where my head should really be reaching forward. Everything stays in the forward line, if that makes sense. Keep pushing down through your back right big toe. Release, palms to the ground, step back into your dog. Once you get to your dog, left hand is strong. Sweep the right hand up to the sky. And then bring the right hand back down. Sweep the left hand up to the sky. Bring the left hand down. And then this time, thread and spin. So the right hand, keep your knees bent for this, by the way. That'll help you. Butt to the sky and then spin. So imagine the right hand reaches past the left foot. Try to keep your hips in the middle. Top of your head kind of falls down toward the mat. Look to the space to your side. Right? Look to the side. And then come back through center. Prepare to switch. So left hand spins under the body and reaches past the right foot. You can always look at the screen to see what I mean if it's confusing at all. And then come back through center. And then when you're ready, go ahead and deep bend into the knees. Lunge your right foot forward to the top of the mat. As you lunge the right foot forward, set up for warrior two. So now we open the hips. Rotate the left heel down. Rise up to a standing position. Arms reach out to the sides. Flip your palms to face up. Keep a strong bend into your right knee. And super strong in the back left foot. All right, bring your arms overhead. Interlace the fingers, flip and push the palms to face up, and then begin circling the upper body. So see how still you can keep the lower body. It's like the lower body is underground in the soil, and the upper body gets to flow a little bit, gets to pursue a little bit of fluency. Go a few times in both directions. Like you're drawing circles on the ceiling. And then come back to warrior two with the arms. On your inhale, reverse triangle. And then on the exhale, kind of lean forward and go into side angle pose. And then start to make this big spiral. Inhale, reversing the warrior, or excuse me, reversing triangle. And then kind of lean up and back into it. And then exhale, bend into the knee as you shift forward to side angle. Inhale, wave it up, open the chest for reverse triangle. Exhale, close the circle, bring it down. Side angle. Inhale up. Exhale down. Inhale up. Exhale down. Two more. Inhale up. Exhale down. Inhale up. Exhale down, pause there. Option to flip the palm, kind of like we did before, except the heel is down now. And then this time, take a step up and out a little bit with your left foot so that you can start to kind of roll the left hip down a little bit more. You might have to widen your stance and turn your left toes forward at an angle. Twist your left hand up to the sky. So even though it's side angle, there's still a twist involved. And then option to go for the bind. Release your hands down. Turn forward. Downward facing dog, step back. From your downward facing dog, bend the knees to prepare, and then lunge your left foot up to the top of the mat. Set up for warrior two, so the back heel swivels down, and then we stand up. And as you stand up, open out through the arms, flip the palms open, find your base, and bring the palms up overhead, interlace fingertips, flip and push the palms face up, and begin to circle the upper body. It's okay if this feels strange. You might have never done this before. But again, best efforts, lower body is in soil or in cement. I like the soil analogy more than cement because when you're in soil, there's still ability for a little bit of movement, right? The soil, when it's moist and nutritious, it's not rigid like that. But it does mean the structure holds. We just make room for a little bit of movement. All right, and then open the arms back up once you've gone in both directions. Reverse the triangle on your inhale, and then start to make a big circle as you kind of swoop forward, side angle pose. And then inhale, reverse triangle. Exhale, complete the circle, it's a side angle. And then just circle it a bunch of times, inhaling up. Exhale down. Inhale up. Exhale down. Inhale up. Exhale down. Last one, inhale up. Exhale down, and then pause there. Feel free to flip the left palm. Again, heel in alignment with heel. And then you might widen your stance a little bit, stepping your right foot a little bit up and out, starting to roll the right hip down to then create more of a twist as the right hand goes up. And then feel free to wrap your right arm behind you. Go for the bind. Slowly release. Bring the hands back down to the mat and step back to downward facing dog. As you get to down dog, let's try these down dog spins again. So, from your dog, reach the right arm under you and then spin. Imagine fingertips could go past the left heel. Keep lifting your hips up as the head drops down. And then switch. I like to bend the knees in preparation and then use that to drive into the twist. Left hand reaches. Keep driving your left foot down and lifting the hips high. All right, bring the left hand back to normal. Come down to a seated position for a moment. I'm going to show you what we're doing next, right? I just want to show you real quick. And if you already know this, you can get right into it, but sometimes it's helpful to watch. All right, so from the down dog, what we'll do is we'll inhale, crouch. Exhale, spin the left arm under, or excuse me, the right arm under. And then inhale, crouch. Exhale, spin the left arm under, reach. Inhale, crouch. Notice my head. Exhale, reach. Inhale, crouch. Exhale, reach. Go ahead and join me when you're ready. Try to keep the spine long. Keep it all in the legs. So this should be relatively easy in the arms because of the amount of weight that the legs are carrying. So the legs are really carrying us, and that's why I like the crouching dogs, is because they kind of load up the spring and then we get all the power from the legs as we straighten and drive the hips up. If you're like me, you definitely have one strong side and then one weak side, so just be aware of that. And then once you've done a fair amount of these, go ahead and let it go. Bring your knees back onto the mat. Sit back onto your heels. Slow your energy down a little bit. Slow breaths. Close the eyes if you want to. Now is where you could move into either a Sukhasana fold or a double pigeon. All right, so double pigeon, heel to knee, your legs stack one on top of the other. I like to do double pigeon seated on like 3 blankets so that my hips are higher than my feet. Or you can come into Sukhasana forward folds. This one's a little bit easier, depending on how open your hips feel. So still trying to get that kind of knee to ankle or knee to heel alignment, but we're just letting one leg cross in front of the other, so it's a little bit more friendly of an angle. And then fold forward. Try not to fold down, try to fold forward, meaning, and I kind of caught myself on that last one, the butt plugs down, we sit really tall, and we lengthen and crawl forward. That way, we really get ourselves into the hip crease instead of just folding at the back or at the spine. When you fold at the hip crease, you should also find that there's more room to breathe because we're not closing off the lungs. We're just hinging at the hips, so there still is some length into the spine, even if it's just a little bit more. Begin to lift, switch the cross on your legs, and then once again, find a fold, but fold forward and not down. So maybe you take an extra moment to really try to sit extra tall as you get into the position, and then take that length forward. Begin to lift up, uncross the legs, sit into a wide straddle. Feel free to bend the knees as much as you want, or maybe just straighten the legs, because maybe it just feels good to totally let the legs go and find a fold. If you want to just stay in the fold, you can, or option to find a twist. So for the twist, the right fingertips go out in front of you, left hand to the sky. And then switch sides. Left fingertips out in front of you, right hand to the sky. Start to sit up. And then go ahead and bring the legs back in. My friends, this is where we will close off today's practice. Feel free to move into a shavasana. Feel free to sit up and move into a meditation. Feel free to move on to another class or just take whatever it is that you want or need to do next in your day. Thank you so much for joining us for another practice. I hope you have an incredible rest of your day. And until next time, stay blessed. See you soon.